Hi, my name is Christina Luce, and I'm the K-8 Instructional Technology Specialist in Liverpool. And today we're going to talk a little bit about Google Classroom for fall 2020 and what that looks like. In this video, I'm just going to go over the different aspects of Google Classroom, the different views that there are, where you can find things in Google Classroom. In a subsequent video, I'm going to actually take you to one of my classes, and then we'll look at the elements in a little bit more detail, and I'll show you how to do exactly what I've done here that I've shown in some of the screenshots. So this is really just an overview to get you familiar with Google Classroom and to provide you with some additional resources if you want to learn more beyond that. So one of the changes this year is how we add students to the classroom. In the past, most teachers projected a code and students would join using that code. This year, classes are going to be auto-rostered for you. This will prevent students from unenrolling from your class, unintentionally, and will keep your student roster up to date. You'll still be able to rename your classes and add co-teachers to your classrooms as you have done in the past. So managing class details and customizing those classroom settings, that's done with the settings widget on your classroom. And when you click on that settings widget, the things that you're going to see that you are able to do would be to edit the class name or the class description. You can change the class video meeting link for the Google Meet. You can show or hide the classwork notifications on the stream, which I know is something that people are really interested in based on their experiences this spring during crisis teaching. And you can set permissions for student posting and your grading policy. So if you're maintaining a grade book in Google Classroom and you want to push those grades out to School Tool, you're able to do that. You just want to make sure that you set up your grading policy in your Google Classroom gradebook to match what you have in School Tool. So this is an example of what it looks like when you view the class details. Notice the class name is probably not going to look like that when you first log in and your classes have been auto-rostered. It's going to look what it looks like in School Tool, but you can change that. You can rename that. So I chose sixth grade math group A, and then in the description I described which class this actually is. These are my kiddos that are coming Monday and Thursday but are doing remote learning Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, something along those lines. The section I left blank, that's up to you, and then the room number that I would actually be in, and then the subject that I'm teaching. Again, the only thing that is required is the class name, but some of these other details are helpful for students and for families. The other thing that you can do on this settings page, you can control who's posting and what they're posting on the stream. And so anytime you see this little arrow, this little drop down, you have some other choices there, so you can play with that a little bit. Again, the next one, classwork on the stream. If you want to see assignments listed on the stream, you can choose the different kinds of notifications. They can be like a full notification or a condensed notification, or you can hide them like I've done here. You can choose to show deleted items, and then you can turn on or off Guardian summaries. So notice I have those turned on here. The other thing that's noted on this page is Google Meet and the link that can be populated from right within Google Classroom, and you can make that visible to students. You can toggle that on and off. The other thing people would be interested in on this classroom settings page is the grading and the grade calculation. So you want to check the overall grade calculation, choose your system of grading. If you're doing it weighted by category, which many of us are, you would choose that. And then showing overall grade to students, you can turn that on or off. And then your grade categories, when you're setting those up, you want to make those as close to what you're doing on School Tool. Just makes everybody's life a little bit easier. Viewing the stream. So this is, basically the landing page. You recognize, at the top it has the classroom name. There is the class code for students to join if they were joining that way. Also, the Meet link. Notice that there's like a line through the eyeball there. So that's currently not visible for students, just for me at this time. You can select the theme. You can upload your own photo to have a background that is unique. On here on the left, the upcoming, that's where any assignments that are coming up due is going to be posted. And then you can see the first box is share something with your class. That's where I can create an announcement. And then underneath are the announcements that I've already posted. So if I were to create an announcement, notice I can create an announcement for this class, but I could also create the same announcement and have it duplicated in other classrooms as well, if it's the same piece of information. Again, I have the choice to include all of the students in my classroom or just the specific students in the class, so I can differentiate messages that way. I have the ability to add media. So at the bottom, there's the files. I can add additional files to this announcement post. And then again, over on the right-hand side, I can post the announcement, or I can schedule it for later or save the draft. This is the people page. On the people page, you're going to see a list of teachers and students that are enrolled or assigned to this classroom. If you have a co-teacher that you need to add, you're going to click on this person over here. It's going to pop up a dialog box where you're going to input the teacher's email address. It'll send them an invitation, and once they have accepted the invitation, their names will pop up below your name in the list here. Underneath, we have the students. You have some actions. So notice I click these boxes. By default, they're not turned on. So I did click them just for the ability to show you what's there. So when I click those and then I choose the actions, I have the ability to email that specific guardian. I can remove the student, or I can mute the student. When we look at the classwork page, this is a page that you're going to become very familiar with. This is where you're going to create any assignments, any materials, topics to help keep the work organized. You'll notice across the top, there is the Create button. Over here, we have a link to our Google Calendar that's tied to this classroom. And over here is the link to the Class Drive folder. That's where all of your assignments are being stored in Google Drive. On this left-hand side, you can see a list of all the topics that I've created so far. Notice I've decided to create a topic just for references. So those are those things that I'm going to just put in that kids may refer to off and on throughout the year. Maybe I put in, as I did here, the reference sheet from the New York State assessments. I might also include the course syllabus here. Any directions or frequently asked questions. Those are the sorts of things that I would click or I would put in this reference section here. Underneath that, I have Unit 1, Week 1, and the title of the unit. And then underneath, you can see all of the questions or assignments or quizzes that correspond to that particular week. This is a way that we can help organize ourselves and organize our students, because if you don't include topics and you don't tag your assignments, it can get a little bit unruly, and it can be very difficult for students to kind of sift through the work that needs to be done right away, things maybe that they can wait on. So anything you can do to help keep them organized is a good thing. So this is an example of what it would look like if you were to create a quiz in Google Classroom. On this quiz page, you have the title that has to be included. Again, I try to be as specific as possible. This is Unit 1, it's Week 1, it's a quiz. I might even include the topic. Notice the instructions are optional, but I find this is a good place to give students maybe hints on certain questions or skills they might have to employ to complete the quiz. Any other directions that you feel are important should go here. Underneath that, you have the ability, again, to add media, or add files from Google Drive or from your computer. Anything that can maybe support the students. So again, perhaps if I was doing a different topic, I would have included the reference sheet. this might be helpful for them. Notice that I do have grade importing turned on. So you want to do that so that your grades that are collected in Google Forms via the quiz will end up being populated in your gradebook in Google Classroom. Notice here you have the ability to enter into locked modes on Chromebooks. This works when students are in our domain. Over here, I have the ability to push this out to multiple classrooms or maybe multiple sections. And I also, again, have the option to push it out to all students in this classroom, or I can choose the students that I want to specifically see this quiz. Because I did set up a grading policy and I have grade categories, that's what's visible here. The points were either, you could do points, you could do ungraded. If this was an exit ticket that I was doing at the end of a lesson, I might choose to go ungraded. I did put in a due date, and I know this was up for some discussion earlier in the spring when we were doing crisis teaching and we were trying to be really flexible with due dates. But I think the consensus at this point is that the kids do need some kind of a due date. Being somewhat flexible and mindful of things that are going on at home certainly is important, but also important to have kind of an end goal for students, so that they can stay organized and really stay on top of things. Notice too, I did tag the topic and I chose, again, the unit, the week that we were working on, so that you can very quickly find these sorts of things. If I was doing an assignment that required a rubric, I could add a rubric here. And I can also run originality reports. So I'm not doing that for this quiz. Up here is the ability to assign it right away. I can save the draft, or I can schedule it to be pushed out at another time. You can also create questions on the classwork page. So here I have posted the question. You can see the short answer was the type of question. You can choose multiple choice, kind of an extended response. And then over here, I'm giving some explanation, trying to kind of point students in the direction of the response that I'm kind of looking for. And again, I could add additional materials here, and I could create, you could create anything like a Google Slides, a Google Drawing, you could create a form, lots of things that you could add here if you wanted to. And then again, over on the side, the for, I'm going to choose whether I'm going to push it out to multiple sections or just to this section, this class. And then again, which students need to see this question. Again, the graded category tied to my grading policy, and I've decided that this is really just something that's formative. I just want to get a feel, so I'm not going to have it graded. I did set a due date, and I did tie it to the topic. Now here you have some options as well. So if this was a more open-ended discussion, maybe we're discussing a concept broadly, I'm definitely thinking like if I was reading a book and I wanted to have a class discussion, I might check that box that students can reply to each other. Of course, I'm going to teach the skill of what that looks like in this space, teaching those digital citizenship skills. And then I am giving students the ability to edit their answer. This is going to save you from kids saying, well, I submitted my solution or I submitted my response, but I'd like to change it, and then you having to deal with that. So I do like to leave the option that they can edit their answer. And then, as always, I can ask the question now, I can save the draft, or I can schedule it for a later date. Also on the classwork page, we have creating assignments. So this is like that traditional assignment. So in this case, I wanted students to investigate games of chance, and I wanted them to basically create a project. And I uploaded, you'll see at the bottom, a sample presentation. The students are actually going to create their own slide deck. I'm not giving them a template to fill in this time. So that's why it says students can view file. If I wanted them to be able to have their own copy and make edits or annotate, then I'm going to make that available. The other option is students can edit the file. That would mean that all students in the class, or all students that you choose for this assignment, would be working off the same document. So that's not what I wanted here. I want them to create their own, but I am giving them a template of what it looks like. Again, on the side, same options that you're becoming familiar with. Choosing the class or the section you're sending it to, which students in the class, the grade category if you've got that set up, any points, choosing a due date, and again, tagging it with the appropriate topic. I did click rubric this time just so that you would have the ability to see what the choices are. So you can create a rubric right within Google Classroom here. That would be that first choice. Once you have some rubrics created, you're going to have the ability to reuse a rubric that you've created in the past. And then you can also import a rubric from Google Sheets. I'm not going to play this right now. This is going to be a resource for you to come back to, but this video does show the Kami and Google Classroom integration. It's going to go into some detail about how you can use Kami, not just for pushing out assignments. You know, Kami we use to annotate PDFs, but it's going to talk about how you can use Kami to provide feedback to students and support students, because Kami has some really great tools that I'm not sure everybody has taken advantage of. One of those is being having the ability to leave audio and video feedback for students. So these are the steps that go into creating the Kami assignment. I took the screenshots directly from the Kami website. So this integration is really important. I do think that, you know, if you take the time to create the assignment in Kami now, it does make it a little bit easier for students. I know in the spring there were some issues with students who created or who were annotating original documents. You know, it was the teacher's template. We had students who made annotations, but then they couldn't find the turn-in button. It didn't look like their work was being saved. So I think it's important to kind of go through the process here of creating the actual assignment with Kami. So if you have a PDF and that's the idea, you want students to annotate this PDF, uh, creating the Kami assignment is going to be useful. So once you know, again, go through this, again, the screenshots are here so it can take you kind of right through it just like I've done with the other ones. But there's also another video that will show you step by step how to make sure and guarantee that you're getting it done exactly the right way. Creating materials. So again, I talked a little bit about this before. When we create materials, these are references that kids are going to be able to refer to, you know, throughout the course. And so any of those things, you know, whether it's an FAQ for the course, just an FAQ about, you know, Chromebooks and you know, common issues or troubleshooting, things like that. That's a great place, you know, is to create this material. And so, again, you give it a title, you can give it a description. I do recommend giving some basic kind of description about what it is. And then you can add the files from your computer, from Google Drive, or you can create the resource right within Google Classroom. Again, you're going to choose what classes or what sections need this resource, which students are going to have access to this resource, and then you're going to tag it with a topic. And of course, when we post, we get the option to, you know, post now, save the draft, or post it and schedule it for later. This video here is going to take you through the actual grading tool and how you can set up your grade book and, you know, how to kind of access that information. And then I will be sending out as well the directions that Karen Humphrey had created for importing your grades that are in Google Classroom into School Tool. These are resources for learning more about Google Classroom, a bunch of really great tutorial videos. The first 3 links are from Google for Education. So, learning right from the source. The Google Classroom Basics is a great place to start if you're brand new to Google Classroom. And then the first aid training just kind of takes you a little bit beyond that. A friend of mine, Eric Kurtz, who did come to the district a number of years ago and did trained the turnkey trainers when we had that up and running. He has a great video series for Google Classroom. They're short videos. It's really like a step-by-step approach where he introduces one thing at a time. So if you're just learning, or just looking to learn about how to post something to the stream, there's a quick video for that. If you want to learn how to post an assignment, there's a quick video for that too. I will be giving you access to another video that I'm about to create that takes kind of a bird's eye view of a classroom that's been set up, and I will go into some of those things there. But just wanted to leave these resources for you so that you have something to reference. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to reach out to me.